What's up, internet people? So we have another Terry Farrell magazine here. This one is Starlog and is from March 1998, and originally was 7 marks, Deutschmarks. Not sure what the other ones are. I think it's Lira or Frank. This is a article that also has some of the other Star Trek actors. Also, and some of the other really 90s movies like Godzilla, and some of the other ones. And that, if this will focus, is one of the magazine articles or interviews that Terry Farrell did. Buffy the Vampire Slayer also back then was a pretty big TV show at the time. And this is the magazine article, or another one that Terry Farrell did. I'm just gonna glance over the article real quick because for those of you who don't need the translation, because I know that the Star Trek TV show was on TV in 100 countries or 200 or something like that. So those of you who don't need, out there who don't need the translation, I would just glance over this article real quick. And there's some on these other pages, there's some more pictures of Dax on the show. and there's another or a couple other Dax pictures from some of the Deep Space Nine episodes. And then the article ends and goes into some other stuff. So I will go get the translation, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is what the article says. Der Tod eines Trill, the death of a Trill. It's the end of the story for Deep Space Nine's Jadzia Dax, but for Terry Farrell, the adventure begins. By Ian Spelling. Dax is dead. Long live Dax. I had asked expressly not to die in the series finale, explains Terry Farrell, who for 6 years played Jadzia Dax on Deep Space Nine, before Gul Dukat, played by Mark Alamo in the final of the 6th season. Tears of the Prophets killed me. The writers and producers, Ira Stephen Beer, told me he did not want me dead, but he must do what was best for the series. It was the best for the show, and it was the best for a clean, smooth cut. It was solely up to Ira and Rick Berman what to do with Dax. I said, alright, but remember, you can clone Dax if you want myself on the show again. I am certain that a Dax clone would stop at nothing to get the worm back. DS9 was a fascinating experience that I really needed, but it was just a job. However, everything indicates Jadzia's death also means, besides from not doing the next season in the series, but also in terms of appearances or a guest starring in DS9 Star Trek films. It is a decision I made and must live with, explained Farrell. The show was a fascinating experience that I really needed. I have learned as an actress and as a person, but it was just a job, and I must keep working on my career and find another job. I am 34, and I just wanted to try something else. I was convinced in my heart and understood that I could find something new. I do not know how I can explain it differently, but I was on DS9 a long time with this series, and it was necessary to move on. Last summer, in the 1997-98 season, Farrell was at the end of her contract and talked with friends and family about what to do next. While all other members of DS9 had signed a 2-year contract and had committed themselves for a 7th season, Farrell decided against it. The time had come to negotiate. For a 7th season, Paramount put an offer which was rejected by Farrell. According to Farrell, it was not about the money in the new contract, but at that point wanted to strive toward new things. After her last DS9 episode was filmed, she had auditioned for a sitcom entitled Becker. Several days after her death scene, Farrell had the new job and starred with Ted Danson, who plays the series' main role. Ironically, Becker is on the site of Paramount Pictures, only a few buildings from the DS9 sets, who had been for 6 years Farrell a second home. When I came on set on the final day, we went through the preliminary screenplay. It was really hard. Around me were many shocked people. They said, "You cannot get out, or I can't believe you're gonna die." This was a hard day. It was sad, exciting, and uncanny, very bitter, And what about Michael Dorn? How did Farrell's close friend and Klingon husband take it? Michael took it with humor. He's probably not too sad about it that I go, because we are good friends. Colm and Renee also. I did not want to die and then be sent home. Finally came the day in which Dukat shoots Dax. Just as she and Worf learn, Bashir has found a way that a Trill and Klingon can bring a baby into the world. As so often with television filming, where the scenes are not filmed in order, which meant for Farrell she first died, then was shot, in the episode Tears of the Prophets. The death scene was shot on the first day of the episode. The day I was shot, says Farrell, I was asked what I wanted to play first. Which scene? The death scene or another scene in which we are all together? I said, let me die first. I do not want to die and then leave. For the scene in which I was shot, it was really weird to be killed by Dukat. It was very sad for me. In my very last recording, I was on the ground. It was strange. I could not believe what really happened. I had to pinch myself. In addition, after I left, I ended up going back to Paramount over the next couple days to test for Becker. I felt really good with my prospects of getting the other show. Farrell has packed her bags and leaves one last time her trailer, a good opportunity to once again take a look at the beginnings of her role in DS9. She had played for the first time in late 1992. The engineering gibberish was much harder than I had ever imagined, she says. The working hours were also much more difficult. I had expected to achieve a better balance between work and private life, but ultimately the work took much longer to complete. I thought I was not going to be working so many hours because DS9 is a busy show and I had tried to negotiate for lesser appearances. Sometimes I would wait a long time for an episode. I remember once I waited 13 hours at home until they called me into the studio. As regards to her role as Trill, she believes the writers over the years mostly well developed the character. Would she have liked to have seen more of or had some episodes with Jadzia's family? Certainly. Would she have liked more scenes with Dax and Worf? Definitely. But since DS9 has a large number of characters, the writers have to develop not only Dax stories, but also for about 30 recurring characters. Always open and honest, Farrell makes no secret of her feeling. Why with so many DS9 main characters and recurring characters, why she could not get a lesser role with the 7th season. If you write for 9 main characters on a weekly basis, then you should have enough to write about and develop the storyline, in any event as I see it. I know not what the authors or the writers have to do and what restrictions are imposed on them, because that is certainly not my task, she stressed. We had some excellent recurring characters. We had 9 main characters, which is quite a lot. Each one of them they can write about. There were many people for which you had to write. Kira, Sisko, Odo, Quark, and Bashir. Worf we already knew from The Next Generation. When the science station was removed, I realized it was time to go. They could not really do anything more with Dax. The 9 main characters and a lot of important supporting characters are an integral part of the series and stories. I had saved my money to be able to just say no to a new contract. It would be interesting if the new Dax was a man. My shooting schedule at Becker will be far less hectic. I'm working on a scheduled day of the week for 12 hours, and that will be the day on which the episode is also recorded. So I have time to see DS9, she explained. It will be funny what they do. Worf must be tormented. He would move to the Defiant and grieve a while. At the moment, the only female main character is Kira. But Farrell will continue to attend conventions and be involved in other SF projects that open. I'll occasionally guest at conventions and talk to people who want to know something about my time in Star Trek. But initially I must see what happens with Becker first. I will probably hold back for a while. Before I left, I was still doing conventions in New York City and Pasadena because I wanted to say goodbye when possible to so many fans. Would she like to be involved in more projects in the science fiction genre? Why not? I have been associated with SF. When George Lucas wants me for one of the next Star Wars movies, then I will be ready the next moment. If there was going to be a DS9 movie where I should play Dax, then I would definitely. I wouldn't mind also playing a different role. That's no problem for me. Farrell looks to the future. It has been 6 years in which she has evolved as an actress. And that was the end of the article. The rest of this magazine is just all kinds of other stuff. They have some of the other shows that were going on at the time. Typical, I guess, everyday 90s stuff for some of this. There's another article in here about Spock. And I don't know what that's about, but yeah. Oh, I guess this is from Brave New World or something. One of the old videos. And there's some other Star Trek stuff. And that is that.